So they say the 30-06 is legendary, Hoss. Legendary. But they ain't heard the old M1 Mod 69 with the 6.5 Creedmoor. Gentlemen, prepare yourselves. The stopping power, the ballistic coefficient, the hurt feelers. Holy shit! The hurt feelers. Look at it. Oh my goodness. Hoss. God, there is still smoking. Cheese and rice. JDs and Letterman Hosses and Hossettes, welcome back to, I would say, at least the 5th greatest YouTube channel this side of Mississippi. Oh, hey, King. I want to tell you about a new friend here of the channel. It's Badlands Munitions Company. Training ammo, pistol ammo. There's even match ammo. What's dope is, guys, they're based here in the United States, right out of Arizona. Everything, it's all made in-house. They've actually given us a discount code, 10% off for all the homies. No matter what you pick up, if it's ammunition, you're getting 10% off. Code 110SAS, check them out. So, guys, I wanted to break down for you the M1 Garand Mod 69. So I've had a ton of questions about it this week. It's gone over really well. You know, the death threats, they're definitely at a minimum, so I guess that's a good success, right? So I just kind of want to explain the method behind the madness and the real outcome of this gun. So when I say real outcome, I mean legitimate reliability, legitimate accuracy, and just quantified performance. So tons and tons of people were like, yo, why didn't you just put it in 6.5-06? Why didn't you do 35 well? And why didn't you do XYZ grossly outdated and ridiculously niche cartridge? And I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, I don't want a gun that I have to hand load for. And I don't want a gun that just requires so much thought process and so much time into manufacturing the ammunition for it. I don't need that in my life right now, especially for a platform that's really, guys, just not known for its legitimate accuracy. I would say an M1 Garand, your typical M1 Garand, 30-06 M2 ball. That's a 3 MOA platform. If you've got a pretty decent shooter, you've got a 2 MOA platform. Anything under really 2 MOA out of an M1 Garand is a major win. So that's, for you guys that don't understand, that is, let's say a 1 MOA gun technically is just right around a 1-inch shot group at 100 yards. Push it out to 500 yards and you have just over a 5-inch shot group at 500 yards and so on and so forth. So a 1 MOA gun is, in my opinion, for a semi-automatic gun, is the gold standard. Anything under that is just a plus. So with today's technology, barrel making, and just manufacturing really good guns, I would say a good portion of most high-end guns coming out today, and auto-loading AR-15s, AR-10s, what have you, most of them are right at 1 MOA, some sub-MOA, and that's a real solid win. So when I talk about the M1 Garand, and I want the accuracy out of it, and how I want to squeeze legitimate performance out of it, and what it takes to get that legitimate performance. So I want to break this video down on this particular M1 Garand and see what it's genuinely capable of. Guys, we know it's reliable. We know we can shoot it fast. We know that every time that 8th round goes, I'm going to hear a ping. So that's the gold standard of really any semi-automatic rifle is, can I shoot the entire clip? M1 Garands have clips. So I want to talk about this gun and exactly what it's capable of. We're going to measure performance off the old 30-06 straight to the 6.5 Creedmoor. Now I have 3 loads for the 6.5 Creed I want to do for this gun and test. We have just the cheap 140 grain SB. They're just FMJ boat tails. Now this is the cheapest 6.5 factory ammo that you can get. It runs right around 75 cents per round. You're gonna have to pay tax and shipping on that. So we'll call it roughly 80 cents a round for pretty much the cheapest 6.5 Creedmoor ammo that you can get. Next, we're gonna do 140 grain ELD match. This is Hornady's factory ammo. I would say a lot of 6.5 shooters run Hornady's ammo. It's pretty affordable. It's very competitive price for the match ammo, and most people are getting good results out of it. So
we're gonna run that. Next, we're gonna do a very different kind of load. I shouldn't say very different, but something that you just don't see super often. So these are factory loaded pills, 130 grain, 6.5 Creedmoor, but they're Berger VLD hybrids. Now, I've always been a huge fan of Berger bullets ever since I was 14 years old shooting F class with a big old goofy 300 Win Mag. Berger bullets, in my opinion, are just extraordinarily consistent. They are a top tier bullet manufacturer, especially when you start talking about precision guns. Berger's focus is definitely not volume. Berger's focus is 110% quality. Now, they have hunting ammo and they also have target ammo. I have found the VLD, the very low drag hybrid bullets, have been absolutely outstanding. And just across the board, whether it is 6.5 Creed, I've got hunting guns of 270 Win, 7mm, 308, 300 Win Mag. I just think that Berger pills are just fantastic. I just have a ton of great things to say about them. So I'm really excited to see those. I'm hoping we get some extreme performance out of those. So let's head to the 110 SAS range. First, we're gonna chrono all the loads. We're gonna do the 30-06, 3 loads of the 6.5 Creed, and that way we have some quantifiable data. So then we can build and put into our ballistic calculators, and we can actually see line by line, every 25, 50, 100 yards, what kind of velocities we have, what kind of energy we're gonna have, wind drift, we can play around with that as well. And we're gonna see what we can do.
All right, so we just finished with the M1 Garand 30-06, guys. Holy crap, not very good. Average muzzle velocity of 26.46. We have a standard deviation of 41.9. That's not very good. But, okay, so we have a baseline for the 30-06 M1 Garand. Let's go ahead and hop over to the 6.5, and let's just see what that guy's doing. Okay, so we have the 6.5 Creed M1 Garand. This is S&B, just 140 FMJ boat tails. Average muzzle velocity, 26.48, with a standard deviation of 11.5. That's actually really impressive for kind of junk ammo, if you will. Now, I shouldn't call it junk because, well, I mean, it is kind of expensive. I think it's like 75, 80 cents a round, but it's much cheaper than what everything else goes for as far as match grade ammo goes. So that's pretty solid. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go ahead and move over to the 140 grain ELD match Hornady pill. Okay, with 140 grain Hornady ELD match factory ammo, we've got 19.3 standard deviation, muzzle average 26.54. I'd really like that standard deviation a little bit lower, but that's okay. You know, not much we can do about that if we aren't rolling it ourselves. So now we're going to move on to the 130 grain Bergers. You can legitimately feel the recoil difference between the 130s and 140s. So we have 8 shots, standard deviation of 12.9, which isn't horrible for factory ammo. We have an average muzzle velocity of 27.86.
All right, gentlemen, first up is the original 30-06, just using M2 ball ammo. We had a muzzle velocity of 26.46 with the 30 cal 150 grain pills. Now, something to keep in mind, this bullet goes subsonic, transonic, right at that 850 to 900 yard mark. What that means when it goes transonic is basically the bullet can knuckle, it just becomes unpredictable. At this point in time, really, we have effectively pretty much an 800 yard gun, 800 to 900 yard gun, and honestly making hits with iron sights at 800 to 900 yards is pretty hard to do. So, super interesting data here. Let's compare it to the 6.5. Next up, guys, we have the 140 grain FMJs. This is from S&B. This is like the cheap bulk plinking ammo, if you will. Now, the data that we have from this and the results, I'm not gonna lie, are very impressive. So we had a muzzle velocity of 26.48, basically 2 feet per second faster than the 150 grain 30 cal pill from the 30-06. Now, what I do find incredibly interesting is let's compare the energy of the two. Pretty much right at 150 yards, The 6.5 actually remains king in energy and in velocity. You put those two side by side, essentially we have an 800-yard 30-06 gun, and then we have a 1,000-yard 6.5 Creedmoor gun before they go transonic. Yeah, not looking too good for the 30-06. Moving forward, guys, we have the 140 grain Hornady ELD match. The absolute performance of this is just incredible. We have a 1,200-yard gun before we consider looking basically transonic, potentially still good and predictable point of impact. Now, the data here isn't 100% finite in when it actually goes transonic. It's extremely close. However, some pills may end up stabilizing well beyond that 1,200 yard mark. Guys, we're talking 1,400 yards to 1,450 when it hits actual subsonic. And then at that point, it's definitely not going to be very predictable at all. So we have a potentially 1,400 yard gun here. Definitely a 1,200 yard gun with the Hornady ELD match 140s. And finally, we have the Berger 130 grain hybrid target pills. I really like these pills just because they're a little bit faster and we do get a little bit of speed, but the long range performance versus the 140s, it's pretty clear. 140s absolutely take the cake in long range. Not to mention too, they have a higher ballistic coefficient, so you're gonna have less wind calls and potential room for error. Not to mention, look at the data. We have a potentially 1,200 yard gun here. It looks like that's when it's going to start to go transonic and potentially destabilize in flight.
First thing is first, I'm super surprised by this cheap S&B 140 grain bullets. They, to get 11 feet per second standard deviation out of factory ammo, that's pretty solid. You know, people will pay $2 a round to get that kind of standard deviation out of factory ammo, but guys, we are talking the cheapest of cheapest ammunition. Getting that kind of standard deviation, that's very impressive. But low standard deviation doesn't always mean good, precise groups. We're not talking quarter-minute groups out of the cheapest ammunition. Guys, let's talk about the legitimate performance of this thing. Now, we have our data here. Let's actually go shoot some groups. I'm gonna get your eyes on me and we're gonna have a camera set on the target impacts itself. So we're gonna sync these two up. We're gonna see exactly where these are at and see what kind of performance we have out of this gun. I am shooting for anything under 2.5 MOA. That's just to be quite honest. If we can get an M1 Garand under 2.5 MOA, I'm gonna be happy. So 2.5 MOA at 100 yards, that's a 2.5-inch shot group, roughly and approximately. And with an old warhorse like this, that's pretty acceptable. If we get under that, I'm gonna be tickled to death. So we're gonna go ahead and shoot, check this stuff out.
Yeah, this chin weld is not ideal. Let's see what this old warhorse can do, huh? Woo! Hit that.
So how about that? Guys, I'm not gonna lie. When I was shooting this gun, the first group, as you see there, I kind of got a little excited.
Yeah, buddy, stack them up.
Because we doubled up a hole. I was like, no way, is this real? Like, what an anomaly? Is this real? Is this gonna be a thing here? But you know, the groups opened up a little bit. So as you can see, we started with the Hornady ELDs. Now, again, I'm impressed for this platform here. You know, this thing didn't have a tremendous amount of accurizing done to it. We pretty much just headspace, timed the barrel, and threaded it. So that's pretty stout. I'm super happy about that. But those Berger hybrids, that group there, this is very impressive. 1.2 MOA out of a platform like this that hasn't been set to a serious gunsmith that makes national match rifles. Guys, that's an impressive feat. That's a very, very impressive feat. To understand Like some of these national match shooters that shot the M1 Grands for years and years, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, you know, all the way up until right now. Those guys, most of those guys are not shooting sub-MOA rifles. So to put 1.2 MOA out of this kind of gun and to produce those kind of groups, that's impressive. We have a legitimate battle rifle here that is a very formidable opponent, you know. You could compete with this weapon system. And to be quite frank, if you're a 1 MOA shooter, if you can shoot pretty daggone well, you are taking home trophies. You're taking home prizes, because at the end of the day, if you can shoot 1 MOA with a 1 MOA capable platform, guys, you are hitting with a 308. This is Applied Ballistics, Brian Litz. You have to check him out. He's an absolute wizard when it comes to this stuff. If you have a 1 MOA platform and a 1 MOA shooter, and you can call the win within 1 to 2 miles per hour with just, let's say, a 308 175 grain pill, you have a 95% chance of hitting every single IPSC at 600 yards. 95% chance. That's basically a human-sized target. If you bring that in, you have a 100% chance of hitting every single target. So, 1.2 MOA, yeah, that pushes us down a little bit in the hit probability, but that's still fantastic. I know I keep going on and on about this, but I think I can't drive it home hard enough how good of a job Fulton Armory did on this gun, getting it to that level of precision. It's just a very impressive gun. So, gentlemen, I believe we have a wrap here on the M1 Mod 69. We have a reliable weapon system. We have arguably one of the coolest and just most beautiful weapon systems of all time. And it just feels awesome. It feels amazing to have this old gun from 1944 brought back to life. We have an optic on it and we have a suppressor on it, and it shoots phenomenal. It's soft shooting, it's reliable, and it's reasonably accurate. So to understand why I am doing this to these guns, I grew up around this stuff. I grew up with classic hunting shotguns and old guns like this. And taking these old guns, these old roached out guns, and kind of just restoring them, bringing them back to a former glory, but with a taste of modernness. It's just it's an awesome feeling. Like, I just love doing it, and it's a legitimately useful gun. Like, this isn't just a range toy. Like, if I wanted to hunt with this, I could. If I wanted to shoot a match with this, I could. Are there better options for both of those tasks? Absolutely, positively. But it's still a formidable opponent, especially in the right hands. Definitely not mine, but somebody who can actually shoot really well. Yeah, absolutely. This is a phenomenal weapon system. So, you guys now have an in-depth look on this. I believe we have a wrap now, gentlemen. So, say it with me. Until next time, run your gun, not your mouth. We'll catch you next time.
Okay, so we've made it to the 110 SAS range, guys. We're going to figure out whether the 6.5 Creedmoor or my .6 Hoss is the better bullet. It's very scientific testing we've got going on. We're going to shoot a pumpkin. We're right here at, like, I don't know, 10 yards or something like that. Okay, going to start with 30-06 here, guys. Just regular M2 ball. Let's see what we can do. My .6 Hoss, stopping par. Let's go take a look. Stopping par. Okay. Entrance wound right here. Let's see what the backside. Pretty decent. Not gonna lie. If that was on the backside of a human being, oh buddy, that would not be ideal. So let's go ahead and move over to the 6.5 and let's just put this to bed. So they say the 30-06 is legendary, Hoss. Legendary. But they ain't heard the old M1 Mod 69 with the 6.5 Creedmoor. Gentlemen, prepare yourselves. The stopping power, the ballistic coefficient, the hurt feelers. Holy shit! The hurt feelers. Look at, oh my goodness. Hoss. God, there is still smoking.
cheese and rice. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh.